John Hattie states that feedback is one of the most powerful moderators of learning. There are many different strategies to provide feedback to students, all of which have varying effects. This raises the question, what is the most effective way to provide feedback within the English classroom? There is an abundance of research that proves the effectiveness of peer feedback for enhancing students' learning and educational outcomes. Peer feedback is the process of students giving and receiving information about performance and understanding in relation to the learning and assessment tasks. However, Hattie states that there is a high risk of peer feedback being incorrect and ineffective without the appropriate scaffolding and guidance from the teacher. Therefore, it is imperative that teachers are equipped with the appropriate knowledge and strategies to cultivate an environment of effective peer feedback within the English classroom. Saxton acknowledges the power of effective peer feedback by stating, the relationship between the giver and the receiver of peer feedback develops both students as learners, helping them to become more astute judges of their own learning. The Australian Curriculum for English makes direct references to the importance and necessity of students' ability to communicate with their peers and review and edit each other's texts to improve their quality of work. Within the literacy strand, the creating text aspect states that students will learn how to edit for enhanced meaning and effect by refining ideas, reordering sentences, adding or substituting words for clarity, and removing repetition. The implementation of peer feedback can enhance this editing process and develop students' ability to interpret and create text with appropriateness, accuracy, confidence, fluency, and efficiency. Students' ability to review and edit each other's work is also clearly stated in the literacy content descriptor for Year 9 and 10. Thus, it is imperative that we cultivate this environment of effective peer feedback within our English classrooms from as early as Year 7 so that our students are adequately prepared to effectively engage in these peer feedback processes. The first step to cultivating a classroom of effective peer feedback is establishing a safe and supportive learning environment, as per Standard 4 of the APST. According to Hattie, receiving feedback from peers can have negative effects for students in terms of reputation as a poor learner, shame, dependence, and devaluation of worth. It is for this reason that it is imperative that teachers create respectful and supportive relationships between students and, most importantly, encourage students to develop a growth mindset where they see mistakes as opportunities to grow. When students develop a growth mindset, they are able to take on board constructive feedback and use it to target their learning needs to improve their performance and expand their learning opportunities. Once you have developed and set clear and explicit expectations of a safe and supportive learning environment, and students understand the importance of a growth mindset, you can introduce them to the basic steps of providing effective feedback to their peers. The main aim of feedback is to reduce the gap between where students are and where they need to be. According to William and Saxton, the advantages of using peer feedback to do this is that students tend to receive feedback from their peers more positively than from their teacher. However, this is only if students have the knowledge of how to provide effective feedback. Research by Garn states that prompts set by the teacher help students to provide effective peer feedback. These prompts include guiding questions, sentence starters, or question stems that provide cues, hints, suggestions, and reminders to help students adjust the task. Garn has also developed a rubric with guiding questions that are divided into 3 levels of feedback: feedback at task level, feedback at process level, and feedback at self-regulation level, to help students provide feedback that will target each specific level. There are many ways to incorporate effective peer feedback into the English classroom, but for those of you who are just introducing your students to peer feedback, here are the basic guidelines that you should teach your students to follow. Number 1. Ensure that students provide focused and specific feedback. Number 2. Ensure that students avoid feedback overload. Number 3. Ensure that students avoid false praise. Implementing effective peer feedback is a cumulative process. It requires dedication from both the teacher and the students. However, Once it is established, the benefits are invaluable and will promote a collaborative learning environment and will improve the students' ability to interpret and create texts within the English classroom.